What's your word of the year? Every year, and even though I don't follow the calendar year, my birth year pretty much matches up with it. And every year I have a word that comes through kind of spontaneously. And this year for me, the word is love. So I want to talk about love and what keeps us from love, and really what the meaning of love is. This is Corinne Bloom, and you're listening to Raw Conversations. I want to share something that just came through for me as I was meditating this morning and journaling just now. So every year I feel like a word comes through that kind of is the theme of the year. And the thing is, even though I know I just spoke about, for me, this isn't really the new year. My birthday is on the 2nd of January, so it's kind of a new birth year for me. So that's kind of where I guess I draw the inspiration to find what is the word for my life in this year, this circle around the sun. And the word that came through was love, which seems so kind of obvious, right? Because they talk so much about love, but actually every year there's been some other kind of word. And this year it came through really strongly, like with an immediacy of just like, yep, that's what it is. And so I was kind of sitting with it, and it's like, okay, well, what does that actually mean, right? Because we talk about love, we hear about love, songs are written about love, but like, what is that? And often the way that we relate to love is we associate it, for obvious reasons, to romantic love. And we relate that love to someone because in a way, when we're relating love to someone, it makes it feel more real because it's something that we can see, right? Oh, I love you, or I feel loved by you. And that kind of exchange makes it feel more real. But the thing is, love is so many things. Love is also just a state of being. And if you want to go deeper, love is the essence of who we are. So it's just accessing the essence of who we are, or the essence that is consciousness or creation. I mean, we could get super existential here and go really far out, but really, like what I just wrote in my journal is that love is the thread that is going to weave this year together. Like that for me at least, that is the starting point. That is home base. That is the springboard from which I do create, cultivate anything and everything. Like that is the home that you take with you no matter where you are. So again, this seems really obvious, but intentions, what's so powerful about intentions is that you really bring focus to something, to one thing, and you make that really alive. You go, okay, I'm going to bring that into existence in this year. And your word might be different, right? It might be balance, it might be harmony, it might be exploration, adventure. It could be anything, right? Anything, but the intention brings focus to that specific thing that wants to be created or manifested into this reality, into this world. So then I was thinking, this is just for me because this is my word, but I think it's hopefully relatable. It's a universal word, theme. I was thinking, well, what keeps us from love? And I didn't go into fear, but fear certainly is a huge component. But for me, that doesn't ring true. But what was coming up for me was resentment. Like resentment. And I was thinking, okay, well, what is resentment? Resentment is just hurt. It's pain. It's our old story. It's our old patterning. It's the way that we hold on to being a victim. It comes from our wounding. And the thing is, whenever we have resentment or, we're upset or we're angry with someone or with our past or with the way that our life was last year, or it could relate to anything. It's not just a person. It could be the resentment of where you live or the job that you're in, or that you haven't arrived to the place that you want to be at within yourself in this world, or you haven't created or produced, or you're not walking the path that you want to. Resentment can hold so much. And a lot of resentment is disappointment. But really, deep down, it's hurt. And so then think of it. What does hurt and pain need? They need love. So it comes back full circle of like the thing that can keep us from love is actually the very thing that requires our love. It needs our love. And so I really got this message, this clear message of just let go of resentment, like just let it go. Because it only ends up hurting us. And you can put in another word, right? If it's not resentment, it could be fear, could be anxiety, could be trauma, could be whatever, like just, put your word in there. But whatever that is, right? So for me, I'm going to use resentment. That is only creating more pain for me. And if it's resentment towards someone, that's only creating punishment, which is only hurting them, which is going to inhibit their own growth and healing. And then you keep yourself in this kind of karmic loop of suffering, which our world has grown very, very accustomed to. And I'm not going to go into why I believe that is to be that way. But I really see this time, we can call it this year because here we are in a new calendar year, but it doesn't matter. Every day is a new starting point. Time is kind of a man-made construct, right? So you can always begin again, as I said yesterday. But I really feel like this time is just letting go of all of this old patterning, all of these old paradigms that just simply don't serve us anymore. And a lot of the old paradigm is bred from fear, suffering, competition, greed, jealousy, all of these things that kind of keep us very small, especially when they're not conscious. And we have not been living in a conscious society. We've been living in a very sleep state society. So all of those things don't necessarily have to be, they're not innately evil unto themselves, but anything that is not held in the lap of consciousness and awareness can be hugely detrimental. When you make those things conscious and aware, you have the ability to transmute and transform them. We become alchemists that can change something that it feels like a state of that is bringing us down, but actually through the awareness and the consciousness of that thing and listening to it and learning from it, the growth and the transformation and therefore the evolution can happen through that. So it becomes the catalyst. So that's why I always say that there's never a negative emotion. It's what you do with it. It's how you listen to it. It's how you alchemize it, that becomes the springboard for your growth. And I really do believe that we're here to grow. That's what keeps us feeling alive and enlivened. It's the lack of growth that brings us into a state of stagnancy and depression and lifelessness, if that makes sense. So yeah, I just got this really clear message that it's like live from love. Create from love, work from love, cultivate from love. And that was really my intention of like, I want to be in a place that I love, with people that I love, with the person that I love and feel loved by. That really is just the compass, the barometer, the guide. It's everything. And I think especially in the world that we're living right now, it is so needed, like for our species to either evolve or to fall into its own demise. That's going to be the key in my mind. It's the combination of love and conscious awareness. And I understand, again, what keeps us from love. If you come from the perspective of fear can keep us from love. It can keep us also in a very closed-minded state. It can create cognitive dissonance. It wants to create safety, familiarity, what we know. And we tend to cling on to what we know, even if it doesn't serve us, more than being open-minded, open-hearted to the unknown, even if that unknown would actually serve us so much better. And I am the type of person that I would prefer the ugly truth to a pretty lie. I prefer being present rather than inebriated or just numbed or distracted. Even though sometimes I find reality or this realm, this world really hard to face and confront. And for me, the lack of love and consciousness and honesty and compassion is like, what the fuck? Excuse my language, but it's just like, it doesn't feel familiar to me. I find it really painful. But I'd rather look at what is painful than be like, oh, let's just keep it all puppy dogs and rainbows and pretend it's all okay when it's potentially not. But I think it's incredibly powerful to set this intention, to live from a state of being of love, which is really just being who you really truly are. You are love. I don't care if that sounds like a goddamn cliche. You are love. That is the makeup of the universe. Now, on a side note, I sometimes do have my beef with the universe, and I'm like, well, what the fuck? Like, why? Why can there be all this evil and suffering and all of that stuff? But I still think that love is the container that holds all of that. And the suffering and the darkness and the pain, again, I'll say what I said before, they're catalysts. Some of it is maybe a little bit of I use the word very carefully, karmic loop. I have my own kind of definition of karma, where I feel like it's really just an opportunity for us to not wait for something or someone else, be it God or the universe or some kind of etheric force to make things better or to create justice or retribution. I feel like karma is like, okay, is this right? And what I mean by right is like, is this truthful and honest and coming from a place of love? And if it's not, what am I going to do about it to create that positive change? So karma is an invitation to take action in a way that is going to support love, growth, connection, honesty, truth, all of these things. I hope that makes sense. So, yeah, I just wanted to share that thought that it felt so clear for me. This is what came through for me. And if it resonates with you, wonderful. And if it doesn't, you'll have, may it inspire you to connect to your own word of the year. But I think coming back to love, whether that's the main focus or not, I think it is vitally important that it is a focus, because I think we're really at a pivotal point in history, in our history. And it's up to us to write the story of our future. It's not up to anybody else. Or if we leave it up to anyone else, might not look so nice, And yes, it takes courage. And this was another thing that I heard. It's like, yeah, living from a place of love takes a tremendous amount of courage. But the heart is both willing to be courageous and loving. I'm going to say that again. The heart is willing to be both courageous and loving. So do it. Be it, become it, cultivate it, create it, emanate it. Yeah. Sit in the state of love and see where it brings you, and recognize if you can really trust it and surrender into it, meaning you are surrendering into a dance with it. You're not becoming apathetic or passive. You're in tune with it. You're dancing with it. You're in flow with it. You're creating with and from that space. Take it or leave it as feels right, as always. And extra loving you from afar. You've been listening to Raw Conversations with Corinne Bloom. Thanks so much for showing up, listening in, and being a part of the conversation with me.